Hey, yo. Let me talk to you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of the Other Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Tim. I go by NWA Gold, and I am joined today by recently of NWA 74, Mr. Dave Scooby. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing well.
Great. And our other brother in podcasting, he's wrestling with the MMA. How are you, Jeremy?
Doing well.
Good. Well, we are, as mentioned, coming off of the two-night spectacular extravaganza NWA 74th anniversary show, live from the Chase Hotel's Coruscant Ballroom in beautiful St. Louis, Missouri. Now, as I mentioned, Dave was there at the event, so he'll be giving us insights as we go through it tonight that we may have missed on watching it on pay-per-view ourselves. We're going to be doing the deep dive on night one of that pay-per-view tonight. We're going to go through as much of night one as we possibly can. We are, of course, the 60-minute podcast that takes 90 minutes to complete, or as Jeremy pointed out in our little Discord server, the 33%, now with 33% more podcasts. So we tend to go to a bit long, and tonight may be no exception to that rule. We'll also be doing results only, having a look at just the results only at this week's Power Season 10, Episode 1. And if there's time, we're going to look at some UWN results, and Dave will, again, if there's time, look at the booking of Pretty Empowered. So let's talk to the chat just before we're here. I see Jay and DKM are both here, so like I like to say, everybody look busy. And James Bell is here. Welcome. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I see there's more people watching who haven't spoken up yet, but please join the chat, chime in, and this is a show where we like to go back and forth with you guys and get your thoughts. Let's dive into NWA 74 night one. However, go right there. This was a night that is going to be headlined with an NWA World Women's Title defense by the Brickhouse Camille against Taya Valkyrie, and a night where Matt Cardona will also be in action. It starts with a pre-show, and now this was a 3-hour and 33-minute pay-per-view. And I took a lot of notes, guys. I took a lot of notes. The pre-show, however, was on top of the event, and we started off with the Country Gentlemen taking on Gold Rush. I just want to touch on the pre-show tonight because I think we got a lot of stuff to go through for night one of the pay-per-view. The end of this one came. And maybe for the two guys here on the show, we'll just kind of go back and forth. But the ending for this one came with a surprising ending for me, Dave, where AJ Kazana hits an O'Connor roll on Marche Rocket for the pinfall. It was kind of the shocker of the night.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I mean, both AJ and Anthony are a regular tag team. They work well together. But I was surprised to see them go over Gold Rush. But then later on, you see things develop throughout night one and into night two of Idol and Church's money possibly going their separate ways, that they were never all together at one time.
Right.
They were always separated one way or another.
Right.
So this may just be a reboot for Gold Rush and giving the new guys, quote unquote, a rub and giving them a win on the pre-show.
You know, Jeremy, I will go to you for this one as well too, because this is Jordan Clearwater in the pre-show, which I think you and I agree from over in the UWN. It's a bit of a shame to see on the NWA, but maybe it is a new day for Jordan in the National Wrestling Alliance. What do you think?
That'd be nice. My hopes are there. They're not very high. That's just because of prior booking. But like I said, hope is there. It'd be nice to see him get handled a lot better and more appropriately, for sure.
Yeah. I agree. We go to May Valentine with Jay Bradley, which thankfully is cut short from technical difficulties. Unless somebody just said, just cut it. Jay's got elephantitis of the inner thigh, and has his back to the camera. We soon see what that visually looks like, and it cuts out. So probably the less said, the better there. But we do get VSK up next with with anyone against Rhett Titus, and this was a match with some had a very strong technical opening. There was a lot of counters, a lot of chain wrestling. There was a lot of work on an injured arm that Rhett Titus, if I'm recalling it correctly, seemed to be sporting. Anyway, there was a frog splash from Titus and a belly-to-belly suplex for the win. Jeremy, what did you think of this match?
I haven't really seen a whole lot of VSK up to this point in the ring, and I was surprised by just how technically sound he really is. Both of them made everything look really fluid. It was just overall a good match. I really enjoyed it.
Dave, did the crowd in the ballroom dig it as much as I did?
Yes, they did. It was just good, straight ahead wrestling. It wasn't. It didn't need a story for them to wrestle. It's just, hey, we're two guys. One of them is a buddy of Cardona, so quote unquote, he's naturally the heel. Rhett Titus can go, and I mean, I talked with him at the Fan Fest, and he's just, I mean, he's the nicest guy, but I mean, get him in the ring, and he goes for the throat. He is such a technical wrestler, but he can get dirty if need be. But I mean, I liked it just for what it was. It was a wrestling match.
Yeah.
It really didn't need a story at all. It's just two guys fighting.
And with some of the matches we'll see over night one and night two, that really can be the story from time to time during this pay-per-view. It's like, hey, here's a wrestling match, So I thought that was great. Willie's in the house. He says Tyrus didn't get the 10 pounds of gold. He should go back to his second job as a float in the Tournament of Roses parade. I swear, Willie, you sit at home and you think these things up. Good to see you, Willie. Jay says VSK has potential. He sure does.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff, and I hope that he's he's going to be used in a higher spot as time goes on this season. We then get another strange one to see in, you would think, off the top of your, it's certainly a pay-per-view worthy match, where you have the Pope, who has a big sign over him, essentially that says, "I will be NWA World Heavyweight Champion someday," taking on Rodney Mack, and this Rodney was with Aaron Stevens, of course, who's really gone full heel right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not really any reason for the particular change. It's just seemed to be the way it did. Since it's the pre-show, I'll kind of avoid all the details of the match, but in the end, Pope gets locked in the euthanizer and taps out, and we get a bit of a beatdown from Mac and Stevens afterwards. When, of course, running to the ring comes Kratos, the most feared, Aaron's former tag team partner and mercenary bodyguard, and kind of clears house and looks like he's back. Jeremy,
Fingers crossed.
what's that?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you're a Kratos guy?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like Kratos a lot.
yeah, good. I don't know where he's been for the last little while. Was it New Japan? Dave,
New
do you know?
Japan Strong. Yep.
New Japan Strong. Okay. So it should be good, and we'll be seeing more of Kratos as we talk about later tonight. Difficult for me to see the Pope, sort of used in this way, but obviously this is a guy who's a real pro and does the business for the company, and I predict the highest of honors for him in the future. And then Caprice Coleman and Gustavo take on Colby Carino and Wrecking Ball Legursky. And as I say, I didn't take really a lot of notes about the pre-show, just everything else. But what we get in the end is Wrecking Ball, who he's tapping out to Coleman's Chicken Wing. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Somebody tell me. Can't remember. Anyway, he taps out, and then after the match, which was a decent match, I thought all the way around, he shakes hands with both guys, and Colby's a great chicken shit heel, and he's like, yeah, what's going on? What are you doing? And Wrecking Ball just kind of pie faces Colby away, and this very much the Fixers have had enough of this stuff, and and we'll end up seeing why that is. Dave, what did you think of this fight?
It was a very good fight. I'm not really sure. I mean, to get people on the show, they did a tag match, but it set up the Wrecking Ball Legursky turn for the good of not so much being a face, but he's not a heel anymore.
Right.
And I mean, it set up the fight of a singles match the next night with Colby and Caprice, and both those guys can go. And I talked with them at the Fan Fest, and I mean, they love wrestling.
Right.
It's a job, but they love it.
Yeah, that's great. Caprice is so amazing. It just and Colby, not to say he didn't come in as a talent that wasn't good to start, but he's grown so much. And just in the last year, he moves with so much more confidence now, and he really comes across as that I don't know if you guys are hockey guys, but like there used to be a player, like he reminds me of Kenny Linsman, the Rat guy. Who used to just he'd get a penalty for tripping, and he'd punch a guy, elbow guy, hit a guy with a stick on his way to the penalty box, and then that's what Colby reminds me of. Couple comments from the chat. Willie likes Rhett Titus to go after the national title and win it, and Kratos to be a good challenger for the World's Championship. That'd be fun, I think, down the road. I'd love to see the TV title and definitely the national title. Both of those guys chasing that stuff. Willie likes Rodney Mack for TV champion. But that's the pre-show for night one. And we get into the show itself, NWA 74, which starts, for those of us not lucky enough to be there in the arena, with Bullet with Butterfly Wings from the Smashing Pumpkins and the video package. the world is a vampire song. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, how long is it? Why is it taking this long to use this song for, for an NWA event? It's so great. Um, we start the show with former world's heavyweight champion Nick Aldis, and he's talking about a promo. He's doing a promo talking about his situation in the NWA. Nick is back to being total face for this promo. He says the world title doesn't belong to him. It doesn't belong to Trevor. It belongs to the fans. And he was the number one contender for it, but then he got replaced, as we know, by Tyrus. Um, he can't do anything about that, but he tells the fans that anytime they pay a dollar to see him, they're going to get their money's worth. If he can't get back to the title, he says maybe it's time to walk away from the NWA. The crowd does not seem to like that. All this goes through some of his accomplishments. One of them is meeting and getting together with his now wife, Mickey James. He says, hold my beer a lot, like who can get a woman like that? Hold my beer. Who could take the title to China? Hold my beer. Plays Flip Gordon to come up tight for night 2 because they're going to go the distance, and he goes out with some really great cheers from the audience. Jeremy, what do you think of this promo from the National Treasure?
My disdain for the National Treasure is well documented. It honestly, it was kind of clunky to me.
Okay.
He could have gotten the same message across without having to throw in how he saw Mickey and knew he was going to make her his wife and is going to have children with her and his yearnings. And I don't care about your yearnings, dude. The man can talk. This one just seemed a little long-winded to me.
Yeah, he always seems to have this, even when he's out there talking to the crowd, Dave, like, this is your night, this is your belt. The National Wrestling Alliance is what we're all here for. He always seems to have this undertone of, but like, remember, I'm really great. And yeah. I think that's a double-edged sword. It's a mark of a really good talent, and it sometimes can be a bit of a go away heat. I like the promo. What did you think there in the building?
He had the crowd going, but like you said, it'd be about, oh, you guys, the NWA, you guys, but then back to me.
Right.
But if you followed Nick, I mean, I knew who Nick was as Magnus back in TNA, but I never really watched.
Yeah.
So I went back and I watched some of his stuff. That's how he's always been. Yeah. It's the upper echelon. He comes out in his suits. While you're wearing a t-shirt, I'm wearing a suit. I'm better than you. He could be wearing a t-shirt, but his is 100% cotton. Is yours 100% cotton? It's just the way he is. I've never really seen him. I don't know if he's that way in real life, but I'm assuming that, yes.
He is.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? But it's just, he exudes natural heel in the same, but in a different way that Tom Latimer does for me. That's why I thought Strictly Business works so well.
One of the things is, while he may be a natural heel, depending on who he is going against in the ring, he can be you're a heel, but you're our heel.
Yeah.
You're a bad guy, but you're our bad guy.
Right.
So, I mean, it just depends on if he's going against a super baby face and everybody loves him. I mean, Trevor was so over with the crowd because he is a St. Louis native.
Right.
And he holds the Harley card. Well, Aldis also holds the Harley card, but he didn't use it.
Right.
Sure.
So
Well, James had asked what the estimated crowd for NWA 74 was. I don't know that number, but I don't think from what we were watching on TV that it was sold out. Do you have an idea how many tickets were sold down there, Dave?
I don't know the number. I know there were seats here and there, but at least in my area, looking around, it was 85, 90% full. There were, I don't know, I'd say on the low end, 500, on the high end, maybe 650, 700. Night two was a bigger crowd than night one,
Yep.
but I really didn't understand if they're selling combo tickets, why you wouldn't just pony up the money for both nights.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things that logically you think to yourself, well, night one stuff will happen that may affect night two. But
Yeah.
then again, if you're a fight subscriber, you can watch night one and then go
Well,
to night
that's
two
it.
if you like it.
If you walk in on night two and go, great, what are all these matches? Why did these get set up, as
Yep.
it did for this? Then you're missing out. I'm going to throw this one up. The boss says he spent a few days with Nick around in China, and there's his opinion of him in real life. But again, it works, and there's a lot of Ric Flair comparisons I think that are fair that come up around Nick, and it doesn't take away from what Jay calls him a five-tool athlete. But
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a good way to start off the show. There's the cat. Oh, off you go, and then we get. We start off wrestling-wise with EC3 versus the returning Mims. It was good to see Mims back in action after recovering from the injury that he had earlier this year. It was a shoulder injury. EC3, a very enigmatic and, as we'll find out, well-spoken gentleman. There's a lot of trading of pushes as they're pushing each other into the corner rather in this match to start, and shoulder blocks before EC3. I always want to say ECW sends Mims into the ring post, shoulder first, and he targets that shoulder. He's hammering Mims with strikes. Mims fights from underneath. But EC3 hits the 1%er, and which is I can't even know how to describe it, and then the purpose which is sort of a modified chicken wing, almost STF, to win by submission in about 3 minutes or 5 minutes, I would say rather.
Yeah.
So after the match, EC3 calls for the mic and knocks the history, the nostalgia of the National Wrestling Alliance. The past won't go away. That's the story here. It's all about the past, and it just won't go away, and that story sucks. He tells us that we can't see the future because the past is so comforting. And it's really holding all of the talent here back. He's very enigmatic, but control your narrative, while a really interesting idea, is not entirely clear to me what it is. I think we'll get there, and there's time, but I don't entirely get what control your narrative is trying to do. But Tom Latimer comes to the ring, and in a really interesting promo where he knows Tom's standing behind him and he's talking to him, but he isn't looking at him at all. I thought that was a very cool kind of body language. He's saying, you're the best thing that's come out of the National Wrestling Alliance. And, on the surface, you're happy. You got clean and sober here. You met your wife here. You found your purpose here. But that's just on the surface. And you got a lot of demons. And as God is my witness, I'm going to pull every single one of them out of you and out of your soul. He turns around and he looks Latimer in the eye, and they both just kind of, deadpan each other. And out he goes. Latimer doesn't say a word. Jeremy, what did you think of EC3?
I thought it was a good debut match, bringing him out against Mims, who we've seen go the distance with Tyrus, and then to have the story that they told immediately injuring the shoulder, then focusing on that. It was a textbook match. And then the promo afterwards, I'm with you. I'm not clear as to what the control your narrative thing is. The whole killing the past and everything, and the history is passe essentially is part of it. I don't get that, but I will see where it goes, and I'm interested to see what happens between him and Tom moving forward. Definitely.
Yeah, Dave, this seemed like there was as much possibility of Tom Latimer becoming a right hand to Ethan Carter III, or the essential character, if you like. Just that's what immediately came to mind when they go through the motions together, when they go through the paces or whatever war they're about to have into. That seemed like as much of a possibility as Tom being, defiantly opposed to him. What are your thoughts on this potential feud?
Well, I think it's setting up a good feud for EC3 coming in, and for Tom, they do have a past from TNA days, and
Yeah.
I think I think it's. I'm not sure if it's really telling a story of good and bad, or it's if you can't beat them, join them.
He reminds me, guys, like a modern day version, and maybe this is said everywhere, I don't know, but he reminds me of Raven.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, in that, like, but Raven had a very grunge rock era 90s, kind of vibe that EC3 seems much darker. Well, maybe not darker, but more modernized anyway. But that enigmatic personality where he's going to draw people to him and, make them see the light of day,
Oh, no,
So,
I think in a sense it kind of is a little bit darker than Raven, because Raven kind of wore his intentions on his sleeve.
yeah.
With EC3, there's that underlying something's there that we're not privy to right now. So that kind of, to me, makes him a little more sinister.
Yeah. He's definitely interesting to me. He looks like $1,000,000. Like he
Yeah.
still looks like that way. But we move on. The miserably faithful Judas, Sal the Pal, and Gags the Gimp. Jeremy's already going. They face the ill-begotten Alex Taylor, Jeremiah Plunkett, and Danny Deals in full wrestling mode, and what is billed as the Beelzebub's Bedlam match. It's essentially anything goes. Plunkett made me smile. He's somebody that we all seem to like here in the Alliance, because he looked part Rock and Roll Express with his bandanas, and he looked like part Ralphus with his T-shirt to me.
Yep.
But it's back and forth after a fast start. There's a chair wedged in the corner for Plunkett to eat. Deals quite correctly, tries mostly to hide during this match. There's a trash can brought into the ring that gets shot into Taylor. There's a comedy spot where Deals tries to ward off Judas with holy water and a crucifix. Thankfully, to no effect. I thought that probably would have put it over the edge. There's a ladder set up. There's a lot of chairs thrown into the ring. There's a broom. Everybody takes some chair shots. Gags and Sal really take some nasty ones. Judas is stopped from using a tire iron at one point. And then there is, depending on how you look at it, the spot of the night or the mistake of the pay-per-view, where Sal climbs up on the ladder outside, which is outside the ring that Alex Taylor is on, and tries for a superplex off of the ladder into the ring. And I don't know if it was intentional. I don't know if it was planned when I say intentional, or if it was just a mistake. But Alex's back hits the top rope. He just bends like this over the back and flops into the ring. It was one of the only times, in this weekend where I went, oh, that does not look good. But he seems to be okay. We learn, as the weekend goes on. Danny tries to escape. Danny Diaz tries to escape. Medusa appears. Of course, they've been feuding on NWA USA for a while. She throws, I guess, chalk in his eyes or some kind of, flour or something to blind him. And Judeus pins him. Right guy, I think, gets pinned here after a choke slam to win this match. This was, for me, a mess. It was like everything and anything. I didn't completely hate it as much as I thought I would, but there was a lot going on in this particular match with a lot of, activity. And again, a lot of different spots. Jeremy, what do you think of this one?
I thought Alex Young was dead.
Oh yeah, Alex Taylor, yeah.
Or Alex Taylor. I mean, I thought he was dead. And the
Yeah.
way he rolled off of the apron after the 3 count and just fell to the floor and everybody went rushing over to him.
Yeah.
I thought he was dead.
Deals, I think, was down on the mat, and he just went right over,
Right over to him.
Are you okay?
I've seen people take nasty spills. I was a skateboarder for years. I ran around with skateboarders, bikers, or bicyclists, and rollerbladers, and I saw some pretty gnarly spills. And that one, that made my heart skip a beat for a second, because that just, oh God.
How about the match overall? Did you dig it or no? No.
Too much going on. I think it would have worked better as a 6-man tag with tags in and out instead of just everything going all at once. It wasn't bad, but it just a little too much to try and keep up with.
Yeah, Sean Mega's talking about the question mark. We'll get to that. We're doing 74 night 1 right now, but we'll get to that. Dave, you seem calmer over this match than Jeremy and I are. What did you see from your seat nearby?
Well, like Jeremy said, I mean, it's just a lot going on when it's not a quote unquote tag match.
Right.
But if they could have, I'm not sure. I mean, I'll have to watch it again, but you can't catch everything, whether you're there live or even watching on TV, because you have 2 or 3, either a double team going on or 3 separate guys fighting 3 other separate guys. It wasn't bad for what it was.
Right.
And it keeps the story of them battling. And I think if they keep Judas as the monster and the Miserably Faithful, if they keep them battling either as a tag team or as a single competitor against the Ill Begotten, that's your USA story.
Yeah.
That
Right.
each week it can go on for weeks until somebody either turns or there's a definite winner.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like as we say, like we didn't totally hate it for what it was, but it was what it was, and it was big and messy. We then get Chris Adonis versus Odinson. I won't spend too much time on this match, but it is important to touch on. It was a serviceable match, I thought, with lots of holds and chops and power moves. Boy, does Odinson love that Asgardian uppercut. He's got to tone it down.
Yeah.
Just one after the other. And this is just like a couple of weeks after doing nothing but that when he faced Tyrus. So Anyway, they block and they trade moves. Adonis goes for his master lock after Odinson had picked up that silver spray that he puts in his mouth as a la Mad Max Thunder Road. Thunder Road? Yeah,
Fury,
Thunder Road, right?
Fury Road.
Fury Road. Thunder Road Springsteen. Sorry. And he locked in the master lock. He puts it behind his head and he sprays it in Adonis's face. He loses by disqualification, hits him with the bottle, and off he goes. Not much to see here, but important for what will happen later. Dave, how did you think Adonis versus Odinson went?
I mean, for what it was a good match. You had two big guys in there that were hard hitting, and it definitely wasn't a technical match. But like you said, I mean, Odinson needs to expand his horizons and come up with a few other moves. The uppercut, I mean, that's a killer move, but if that's your only move, jumping off the ropes and hitting somebody, jumping off the ropes, oh, let's do it again and again and again. Well, after a while, if you do it 2 or 3 times and it does nothing, how effective is it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean,
one or two more moves in there and just mix it up.
Maybe 3 or 4, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, Pollo Del Mar has been on this the worm.
Hello, Skeletor.
Pollo Del Mar has been on the show, and she said, you know, he spent a lot of time with Pero in the end, and so he's learning to break out on his own right now and do. So that's, I mean, he's young and he's got some stuff to go. But notes from us in the cheap seats, right? Let's get a few more moves in there. Up next, we have Kyle spending a moment with Pretty Empowered, and you know, Ella Envy says that the Hex are just jealous because Pretty Empowered took the titles and made them better. Kenzie's kind of doesn't appreciate the arrogance. Yes, Unseen Shifter, you are famous now too. You have the other Alliance guys rubbed now. There you go. You're bound for glory. Yeah, is that your wife? I'm trying to remember. Is that your wife or your son?
No, that's my son's best friend.
Oh, okay.
We call his nickname Skeletor. His real name's Chris, but we call him Skeletor because he looks like Skeletor from He-Man.
Well,
yeah, it's kind of weird.
Okay,
he's a good guy though.
All right. So Kenzie, who's obviously the face in this tag team, says, "Look, this is a dream for me, and you know, we have grown as a tag team, Ella and I. They have no idea how important it is that the support they've gotten from the crowd. She really appreciates it. Ella kind of appears to be crying, and then she suggests that Kenzie's a child, and you know, she starts saying about how the Hex is basically politicking backstage. They're doing that. They're doing this. Kenzie cuts her off and says, "We're not playing that game. This interview's over. We'll do our talking in the ring." And so we see that descent from the Hex, you know, who we will see again, from Pretty Empowered that we will see again later. That being just a segment, though, I'm going to go straight, if you're all right, guys, I'm going to go straight right into the junior heavyweight match. Homicide versus Kerry Morton for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. Homicide has owned this thing for months and months. He has taken on all challengers. He has been, with the exception of Camille, with the exception of Camille, the strongest champion in the NWA. And it's not for lack of trying, because he defends it all the time. Kerry Morton, his father, Ricky's there at ringside with them. There's some arm drags and some takedowns with kip ups. They kind of go, oh, okay, you know, a couple times, and they shake hands a couple of times. The third time it happens, Homicide just goes dead-eyed on Kerry, slaps that hand away, pulls the hair and punches him in the face. So Kerry, we're getting the sense that not that Homicide is frustrated, but he's a darker soul. He's a bad man underneath the surface. Um, Kerry counters with some of his aerial moves, and Homicide hits that triple vertical suplex a la Eddie Guerrero. Um, he wrestles a little heel. He gets rough. He pokes Kerry in the eyes and in the throat. So the story here seems to be that he's kind of going slowly heel against this match to sort of combat Kerry's overwhelming youthful energy. Kerry tries to hit the kiss it goodbye. He gets caught on Homicide's cutter. It kicks out. Homicide gets hit by the kiss it goodbye shortly thereafter, but gets his leg on the ropes. Kerry misses a frog splash. Homicide goes for the cop killer. It's reversed into a super kick. There's lots of near pinfalls all over the place. Finally, though, we get a low blow from Homicide, who says to the ref, he begs the ref, no, don't DQ me. It was an accident. It was a foot. I should point that out, back under the crotch, not the classic fist from the knees. The match continues, and Homicide turns Kerry's failed moonsault, works that into an avalanche Koji cutter for the pin. They kind of push and slap each other slightly at the end. Dave, it felt like Homicide was going heel, and the crowd was firmly behind Kerry Morton.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when Ricky and Kerry came out, crowd loved it. It's hopefully Kerry can live up to the Morton name in so much as doing his own thing, but also representing his father. But I mean, white meat babyface, like, hey, that was a good move. Let's shake. And I'm like rolling my eyes going, okay, this is pushing it a little too far, but it helps tell the story of Homicide being frustrated and going, okay, yeah, you're younger. You're trying to get one up on me by any means necessary. I'm going to win.
Right. Did you like the match?
I did like the match, and I think it furthered the story.
Yeah. I thought it was one of Jeremy. I thought it was one of Kerry's better matches. Not that he's had crappier ones, but he's coming along pretty well. And it looks like the cardio to me has improved too. What did you think of Kerry and the match overall?
The match overall was it like Dave said, it told a good story, and it's helping to advance for a further story down the line. I'm interested to see how Ricky comes into play with this, with the interaction between Homicide and Ricky after the match, with him kissing the belt in front of him and basically taunting him with it. We all know that Homicide has a dark and devious side to him, and it's kind of good to see that starting to come out now after kind of some of the silliness, and not to say it was silly, but some of the more shiny, happy Homicide that we're not really used to.
Right. It was he always kind of reminds me. Well, Eddie Kingston is what I like to compare him to, where he can be a good guy in the ring. He can play fair and everything, especially in the NWA. But with like Eddie saying that time probably 2-3 seasons ago now, was like, they told me not to come out here with a screwdriver and stick it in your eye. Like,
yeah,
I don't remember who he was talking to, but he's that kind of guy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jay says, quick, name another Impact pay-per-view. Anybody?
Bound for Glory.
I was going to say Road to Glory. I couldn't. Bound for Glory, I think, is one. Yeah.
I saw that pop up on the screen, and I was thinking, and I was totally blank, and then you popped it up, and that one sprung into my brain. So.
Yeah, I cannot remember any others. However, James Bell says it's time for Ricky to back away and let Kerry develop on his own. Yeah, you know, I don't hate Ricky in a manager role, especially as an uber babyface. There was a point where Ricky was standing right there, and Homicide put his foot on the ropes, and Ricky just kind of went, nah, you know, like he didn't try to knock it off or do anything.
Right.
That's not Ricky Morton, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's Richard Morton, if you remember way back to the day, but that was very brief. So Homicide retains. We get wrestling legend Tommy Rich interviewed by Kyle in the ring. He talks about NWA champion and how great it is to be back in the NWA again. Tommy was a world champion for a cup of coffee, but he's so popular, and you know he was perfect for just, hey, I love being here. This is fantastic, and he has that personality that just fires up a room in 2 minutes flat, right? Dave, did you meet him at FanFest or what did you think?
Yes, I did. Nicest guy ever. I mean, got his autograph, and he's like, "Yeah, you want a picture?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I really don't do pictures." "Oh, come on." So I ended up taking a picture, and I mean, nicest guy ever, and he loves the fans.
Yeah.
The fans made him, and he repays it 10 times over when he does the fan fests. That, I mean, he gives 110%. He goes to all these. He's like, yeah, he goes, I got probably about 20 booked a year, and he just goes there, and he goes, it's great seeing all the guys that I used to wrestle and some of these new people, but we'd be doing nothing in the ring if it wasn't for the fans.
You know, he's like you say, he's just got this great enigmatic personality. There's a lot of stories as to why he was champion for, you know, at all or for a week or not longer or whatever. But the one I like best is that Harley just thought he just deserves it. you know, he's just that guy, and he deserves to have this rub on his name. So, you a Wildfire fan, Jeremy?
Yeah. I liked him whenever I was younger, and he's still that bigger than life personality. You know, he came out and he totally could. He had that crowd in the palm of his hand from that first hay to the last one. They were on everything that he said, and he earned his money. You know, he came out there and he got that crowd fired up again.
Right, he really did. Jay tells us that Kingston was talking about Pope in that screwdriver bit that we mentioned earlier. He was something else, Eddie. He also says he's done with Ricky as well. Rick Del Santo is in the house. Rick,
Hey, Rick,
my friend, good to see you. I just watched
the replay.
I just watched the replay of the PWZ podcast the other day. Great stuff. Please check that out, guys. Willie could name some Impact pay-per-views. I cannot. So there you go. Good.
Justice. That's the one I couldn't remember that. That one kept popping in my head, but it just didn't sound right.
Yeah, I've never heard of him before, so that tells you what I know. Man, we got to push this thing. May's backstage with Pollo Del Mar and Silas Mason. What's your prediction for tonight, Silas? Prediction? Pain. It was hilarious. May kind of just, Pollo, she says, can you guarantee that you won't interfere tomorrow in the MLW national open weight title match? She says, honey, there's only two guarantees. I'm going to look stunning, and then Mason's going to win that title. I like Pollo. We all do, and Pollo is such a fun addition to the NWA. Matt Cardona, he does a promo before his match, talking about his return from injury. He's still here. He mentioned that he'll be challenging for the NWA World's Heavyweight title again, just like Billy promised him when he had to forfeit that title 3 months ago due to injury. He's picked a tough man for tonight. No, it's not Nick Aldis. It's not going to be Nick Aldis. No, it's not Bully Ray, who's been bullying me online. It's the toughest man. This guy is a future champion. It's Rolando Freeman. And Rolando Freeman versus Matt Cardona is up. So there's a cheap shot from Matt Cardona to start this match at the handshake. He gets he goes for the handshake again. He gets one of these from Rolando, who's obviously a 4'11" firecracker. He gets some offense in on this match, more arguably than he should. Although, to be fair, it is largely Cardona in control of the match. However, after some comeback spots where Rolando is able to capitalize, Cardona drives him down. He leans back on him. He throws up the bird in his cocky pin attempt, and he is rolled over. And 1, 2, 3, Rolando defeats former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Matt Cardona. The chase, I'm going to go to you, Dave, because you were there. The chase seemed electric, more electric than they were at any point during the night. And the Spectaculars arrive and carry Rolando out on their shoulders. What did you think?
It was, I mean, all I could think, I'm watching it happen, and I'm like, wow, this is like the 1, 2, 3 Kid. That's all I could think of. It's the underdog beating the cocky guy with the swagger that nobody can beat me, blah, blah, blah. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Well, you just got pinned 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And it was feel good, and the crowd ate it up.
But it wasn't Rolando defeats Tim Storm, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, as an example. It was Rolando beats the champion who just gave it up. And I was arguing in the Alliance Discord today, discussing, not arguing, no one was yelling, that this is not good, regardless of how this was booked or who was responsible. But I was arguing, Jeremy, that this takes a lot of the potential shine for me off of Matt Cardona to return as World's Heavyweight Champion. What did you think of this match?
We'll touch on this in a moment with Power, but this does nothing for Cardona. I saw the same thing in the Discord, and I don't care who asked for what or who said that they wanted this done. This goes back to garbage mud show wrestling booking to me. It makes no sense to me. I don't know where they're going with this, what story this builds, other than it furthers the fact that Rolando is possibly a bigger badass than Rush. And the stories that he's pushed on his Instagram and stuff about how Rolando, took up for him and fought his battles for him as a kid. But that's really all it forwards. That's all it really pushes storyline for me wise is that. I don't understand it.
Jay pointed out on that same Discord server that, there are other people who could have benefited from this that have a real upside. And what he doesn't get about it, as he says, it was crap.
Yeah.
Was that you've got Jordan Clearwaters, you've got Matthew Mims, you've got other guys out there who really could have benefited from this position, and it's Rolando. But as we'll see,
even if it had been a squash match on Cardona's side where he won and he squashed somebody like Clearwater or something,
yeah,
it still wouldn't have really hurt them because He's he is the NWA champion that had to give up the title because of an injury. You know,
Yep. Yeah.
The-
DKM says, remember, Cardona is the savior who puts asses in the seats.
okay.
You can
Tim,
almost hear the sarcasm from here. You were saying, Dave?
the only thing I could see them going forward with is Cardona family versus the Spectaculars to give the newest tag team a little rub. Whether they win or lose, they're going against one of the bigger names and bigger factions that is in the NWA now. Because I mean, Matt says he's 100%. He may or may not be. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was good enough to come back and wrestle, and he's wrestled a couple times. So I mean, he's on the way, but he may not be at 100%. So let's just do this story and see where it takes us. I mean, I have no idea where it's going, but I'm just keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see. DKM says they didn't want it to be a benefit to anyone, for anyone. That's the point. I don't know. He'll talk, I'm sure, more about it tomorrow night on the Alliance Guys podcast with Jay, Colin, Jaden. Let's move along from. I guess this is probably the shocker of the night. Rolando. We get May with Baby Doll and Samantha Starr. Baby Doll's here to manage Samantha Starr. You know, their faces. She's honored to be here. Samantha says she's honored to be here too. You know, she's going to be the first in and the last out. But no matter what happens tonight, they're going to see stars. So that was fun. But the Burke Invitational Gauntlet to earn a shot at the NWA Women's World Championship is up next for night 2. Of course, that championship match, and there's too many competitors for me to try to do a rundown here. But the order of entry that came in was Kylan King, who we know wanted that first spot. They talked about that to prove herself. Then Samantha Starr. Then we get Natalia Markova, Missa Kate, Maddie Rankowski, Taryn Terrell, Max the Impaler, Tootie Lynn, Angelina Love, and then Genocide. So every 90 seconds, someone else is new. A new person's in. They can win, I believe, by pinfall, submission, or throwing them over the top rope. So the noted moments in this for me was Max came out and she just, you know, basically stomps through the ring. And Maddie goes, nope, and eliminates herself over the top rope and flees through the crowd. That was a lot of fun. It's funny because they do a close up of Max just like watching her go. I thought it was pretty amusing. Another one about Max eliminating both Taryn and Angelina Love at the same time. It was clear she was fairly dominant in that in this whole thing. The final 4 came down to Kylan King, Natalia Markova, Max the Impaler, and Genocide, which to me were the perfect final 4 for this. Mm-hmm. That starts off with each one of them in turn hitting a move on the next until they're all basically down on the mat. I thought that was a pretty neat spot to watch as well. It comes down to Markova and eliminating Kylan King with the beautiful destruction at the same time that Max eliminates Jenna with the Welcome to the Wasteland, which was an impressive feat as well. They kind of stare at each other. They trade moves evenly back and forth, but in the end, it's Max the Impaler with another Wasteland to win. The miserably faithful come in to celebrate. Jeremy, tell me about your thoughts about the Burke Invitational Gauntlet.
It was a good match overall. I agree with you on the booking of it, of how it played out as it went along. I got a kick out of Maddie taking off out of the ring and Max just standing there and watching as it happens. You know, just to me, that kind of sold the fact that she's not really worried about anybody because there was a lot of bodies in there. And she's just standing there watching somebody who was scared of her. That was more important to her than what was going on. And I thought that really sold the fact that she is a walking path of destruction. And then with her winning it, I thought that was a solid move as well. Um, I would have rather seen her and Genocide as the final two, as opposed to Natalia. But on the same instance, the size difference and everything and the styles that paired up quite well. So it was a good one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it is the little things like you mentioned about Max that really helped, put her over for me.
Yeah.
Like watching that person go when there's a fight going on, right?
Nope.
Like they come in the ring to celebrate, and here's Gags, and he's like, "Yeah, you win," and she just like slams Gags out of the way, and she's like, "What's going on?" for a second, and Judas is like, "Put your fist up like this," and he's like, it was funny, it was comedy. Um, Dave, I'll throw this up here. DKM says, what about Tootie Lynn lasting less than 2 minutes? Did everyone get served well enough in this match? Samantha Starr went from second in almost to the final four, as an example, and nobody's seen her before. How did you find the booking for this match?
I found it odd, being that we're in St. Louis and Tootie's hometown girl.
Yeah.
She didn't last longer. I'm not sure if she was at the tapings. I really haven't heard any spoilers. Overall, it didn't do Tootie any favors knocking her out so early. I don't know. Samantha Starr did okay, but I wasn't super impressed. She was a body that was in there. I know they were playing up the legacy of Baby Doll and the NWA, having another generation represented wrestling. But I think if they would have switched out when they got knocked out, being that Samantha Starr was the second in, that if she would have been in Tootie's place and Tootie would have lasted up until the final four,
Yep.
that it would have given her a couple more minutes in ring and more response from the hometown crowd, a more positive response.
Right. Well, I think in the end we all felt it was fairly decent, but with those details might have been a little bit better. We get Kyle on the ramp with Aaron Stevens. Look, Aaron's so good at comedy and he's so witty and everything. Sometimes he just he's done this heel turn that just because there's no reason. He hates pro wrestling, and the only thing worse than pro wrestling is the fans. And stop talking and look at my butt because it's great. And you smile as a fan. He's funny, but basically he says Kratos attacked me and he couldn't cut it here, so he left. Now he's back. So tomorrow night it's going to be me with Rodney Mack in my corner against you, Kratos. And who will you have? Well, nobody, because you don't work here. It was a fun little segment, Jeremy, to have Aaron Stevens flap his gums for 2 minutes. What do you think?
He's another one that I could sit down and listen, just do an hour-long promo or more, and I'm sure he probably could pull it off.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think he walks in one day is like, hey, I'm going to be a heel today just because it sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think he's a producer, so
Yeah.
he must have some sway. But yeah, I mean, he's fun to hear. I just, I hope for greater things for him to come. But we'll move on to the matches. Again, 3.5 hour pay-per-view. Holy moly. It is Scion taking on Jack Stain for the National Heavyweight Championship. What I like from the start on this is that Dane comes out, Chris Silvio's holding up the belt, walking behind him like you might see in a professional boxing match. I thought that was really, really cool. It's the little things, guys. It's a little
Yep.
thing. Jack starts with the vest on, uh, which doesn't stay on too long, but it's largely Dane with the power moves dominating over Scion to start. But Scion ends up fighting back, taking over, and Dane bails. And he's like the Silvio, let's go. They grab the belt, they're going to walk out. But Scion's not going to let that happen. He throws him back into the ring, where seemingly unbeknownst to Scion, Crimson, or Anthony Mayweather, if you prefer, is standing. He's jumped the barricade and he chokeslams Jack Stain and says to Scion, "Go ahead and pin him. You're welcome." And Scion have none of it. He attacks Anthony. Mayweather, Anthony Mayweather. I'm just going to call him Crimson. He attacks Crimson, for daring to take away the sanctity of his national title win that he feels is upcoming. He throws him around the arena outside for a bit. Back in the ring, in a bit of a strange spot, a little bit. There's a sleeper applied that Dane taps to. He taps to the sleeper, but Chris Silvio has distracted the ref and he doesn't see it. So when it's released, and Scion kind of thinks he's won, because you can see Dane, tapping his arm. He turns around and Dane pops the trunk on him. It looks like it's over, but Scion has his leg on the ropes. There is, in short order, a Death Valley driver by the son of Austin Idol, and Jack Stain is defeated. There is a hashtag and new national champion in Scion. Dave, what did you think of Jax and Scion for the title?
It wasn't a bad match, but I'm just so used to Jax being just so dominant and just size-wise. To me, it wasn't a believable win. It was a fluke win. And we'll see where it goes. But I think it was done to possibly separate Idol Sports Management from Church's Money, give Austin a focus. Let me focus just on one person. And it goes back that he was a national champion as well. So they can play on the history of that, father and son. And who knows how long this storyline will go. But it was a way to change things up aesthetically in Idol Sports Management.
Right.
So we'll see where it goes. I mean, there's two champions in the group right now.
It is a big night for for this group right now. Jeremy, Jack Stain defeated by Scion, who has not had much success in the NWA, but who has failed upwards by failing to win the TV title. He's now won himself the national title. What did you think of this match?
Overall, it was a decent match. Anytime Jack Stain gets in the ring, I enjoy it. As you said, Scion has failed upwards gloriously. I'm hoping that this is, like Dave said, a sign that the Church's Money and Idol Sports Management, or Idiot Sports Management, as Willie calls it, is going their separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
My main takeaway from the match, though, was I hope we don't see more of Crimson and Jack Stain.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see that. I'm not a Crimson Anthony Mayweather fan at all. I don't. he does nothing for me in the ring, on the mic, or anything. So I'm just hoping that we don't see more of that.
Or something different anyway. Yeah, I tend to agree with you though. Bully Ray, he's taking on Mike Knox in a tables match. My notes started with it was what it was, but um, the spots for me is early on. Bully Ray goes and takes out the first table of many. He looks back over the camera and he goes, "Where's Devon when you need him?" I thought that was pretty amusing. This was a hoss fight. There were several table spots, near table spots rather, and chair spots. Uh, Mike Knox sends himself through a table when Bully moves, and so the ref waves it off and says it doesn't count. Bully has to put him through a table, but it's less than a minute later when Bully chokeslams him through one. After the match, Bully, who's been an amazing face in the NWA, just and on Busted Open as well for the NWA, breaks off a piece of this table. He's walking around going, "Who wants it?" There's people standing, Dave, like, "I want that." And he goes outside the ring and gives it to this cute little girl on one of her parents' shoulders, as take the photo opportunity with her. It's arguably, as DKM said a few weeks ago, the best booked match in leading up to '74. What did you think?
It was definitely a feel-good moment. He knew how to work the crowd. And I mean, going all the way back to his ECW days, I mean, him and Devon would work the crowd. And I mean, just getting them to chant, you just feel energy from him. He's not like a cheerleader. He's almost scaring people into chanting. That he'll walk, "Come on, hey, come on, let's go, let's go." He's the main cheerleader. But now he's softened with age, and it was a good match for what it was. He was known for tables. It told a story. And I was just looking at it, and I'm like, wow. Knox got beat. Cardona got beat. BSK got beat. Not really a good night for the Cardona family.
Nope. And Chelsea Green wasn't in the Burke.
I know. I'm like, I'm wondering where this is going. Are they going to go, hey, they hit rock bottom, started from the bottom, now we're here. It's going to be a building process to get Cardona back to the championship, even though he never lost it.
Right. Look, I never want to. I'm learning on the job as I go, because I never want to criticize the talent and the effort that these incredible athletes go through. I'm done with Mike Knox and Jeremy. I thought this was a good ending to this, and hopefully that's it. Anything in this tables match that you liked especially?
No,
Not really. Just pretty.
the end.
The end is always
The end of it. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why Knox going through the table didn't end it right there. Typically in a tables match, that's how it would end, regardless of who went through the tables. Someone went through, so there you go. But I'm like you. I'm done with Mike Knox.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of bright spots, but that's basically been just because he cracks a joke that I chuckle at on the mic. But other than that, he does nothing.
He's got a great T-shirt too. It's me, Mike from wrestling. My girlfriend can't wait to get one. She's like, I don't really like Mike Knox. I just love the T-shirt. But anyway, that's what that was, and it was clean and had a feel good moment, as Dave pointed out, with that little girl. Kyle Davis is up on the ramp with Ricky Morton, and Morton is reacting to the loss of his son. He said, "Well, Homicide, you had to go dirty to beat a kid," which I thought was probably not the best choice of words. You want your kid's a man now.
Yeah.
but be careful whose toes you step on the way up. They're connected to the ass you have to kiss on the way down. Think about that one. I think he might have got it backwards. I don't know. But the point is there, and Ricky Morton, whatever he's still doing or in the ring, is still a charming and charismatic fellow on the mic. He says, read between the lines because I can't tell you this on TV. So he's upset, and that's going to end up setting up something for night 2 that the other Alliance guys will talk about tomorrow. But I got to keep pushing. It's 7:15 already. La Rebellion are up, and they are facing, they are fighting for the NWA World Tag Team titles, but not against a Commonwealth connection. We learned earlier in the night that Harry Smith is sick and he cannot compete. And the NWA said, sorry, Harry, you're going to have to relinquish the titles. This is NWA 74 and they must be defended. So instead, they are going to face La Rebellion. The former champions are going to face Hawks Aerie, Luke and PJ Hawks, for the vacant championship. So Doug Williams comes out and relinquishes his belt. I guess he's only got one to the match, to the referee. It's largely even for a couple of minutes, the first couple of minutes, with Luke showing off his power and PJ showing off his technical skills. Luke gets isolated by La Rebellion and hammered for quite a while. There's a hot tag to PJ, who suplexes both of them out of their boots for the next couple of minutes. There's a tag back to Luke, and Luke's soon back in trouble. He eats both the nail in the coffin, which he kicks out of, and the mark of the beast, which they actually hit for the most part, and kicks out of that as well. He's double tough, Luke, in this match. There's a brief double team by the Hawkses that leads to Bestia taking out PJ and a mist of the eyes of Luke by Damien Says for about, I'm going to guess the 11 billionth time in the last year this particular scenario is played out, and Bestia rolls up for the win. In the aftermath, Doug Williams comes out and he shakes La Rebellion's hands, and all three of them, in an acknowledgement that they're the champions now. Jeremy, your thought on the new World Tag Team Champions and once again Tag Team Champions, the Rebellion, and this match against Hawks Aerie.
This was probably probably my match of the night. I love seeing La Rebellion work, and just that toughness that both PJ and Luke have in any match. It was nice to see them go up against La Rebellion this time instead of just PJ doing it. Again, came close, but it's La Rebellion. I mean, nobody's figured out what it takes really to get to surpass them yet. Whenever the Commonwealth got it, I felt it was kind of lucky. So it was nice to see him get it back. And like I said, this was probably my match of the night.
Yeah, Dave, to Jeremy's point, if you think of the best tag teams in pro wrestling, usually people go FTR, Briscoes as 1A and 1B. Take your pick, and then when you start thinking about who's in second place to those two, this is one of the first names that comes up in the La Rebellion. They're so innovative, and they're really interesting to watch. I just get tired of this particular ending to this match for them recently. What did you think of the match?
The match overall was very good. I enjoyed it. It's great when both tag teams can do high maneuvers, but they also can get down and dirty and just wrestle and fight if need be. I do like that they brought Hawks Aries back, because there were people around me. They're like, well, why are the Hawks in there? Isn't there any other team that's better? And I'm like, well, They ended up facing each other back at Crockett Cup, but Luke was injured, so it was a 2-on-1.
Right.
This is the rematch of the match that never happened.
Right.
I said, this is where you get your shine back. This is where you get revenge on what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to play out with Hard Times 3 being in the New Orleans area. That's Wildcat country. That's
right. Well, funny you mentioned that, because when this ending happened and we knew Hawks RE was going to be in the U.S. tag team scene, I thought, oh, we got, this is guaranteed U.S. tag team champions. Forget the fixers. It's going to be like, which was everybody's hope and guess, and it's going to be these guys now. And we'll leave that till tonight too. But yeah, let's move on briefly. It occurred to me only at this moment that we can't really do the power results for tonight anyway. We've gone along regardless, because so many of them kind of rely on what happens on night 2. So Jay, if you're still out there, DKM, you'll be doing power. I'll send you my notes if you want me to. But we'll carry on with the rest of this pay-per-view. There's a face-to-face showdown with Trevor Murdoch and Tyrant to set up their main event for 74 night 2 in the World's Heavyweight Championship. Murdoch won this title at Always Ready, and so they're both out. Tyrus was out with G's, who carries his title that sort of same way as well. I like that kick. Tyrus says, get out of the ring to G's. This is like, it's just me and him and Billy Corgan in between them. Billy introduces them both. And Tyrus says, I didn't cash in the lucky 7, excuse me. I wanted to make this title, the television title, the number 1 belt, and I've done that. Okay, and whatever. And now there's only one thing left for me, and that's the 10 pounds of gold. And I had to know what having 10 pounds of gold felt like. And he's wearing a lot of gold chains. And he says, so I went out and I bought 10 pounds of gold. And when I take that 10 pounds of gold, I'm going to give you this so that you don't feel like you're without. He says he's in great shape. And you know what? He has cut down some weight. It's noticeable. He looks like he's been working out pretty hard, and it was good to see. Murdoch gets on the mic and he says, you better keep your 10 pounds of gold around your neck, because it's the only 10 pounds of gold you're going home with tomorrow night, sunshine. And I loved this part of his speech. He said, I decide if I kick your ass all around this arena. I decide if you go back to Gutfeld with a black eye. And, Tyrus and he go nose to nose, and Billy Corgan's like, shirts come off, jackets come off, and they look like they're going to go at it. And then Tyrus just goes out of the ring, and he points at his head when he's to the commentary people, suggested he's playing mind games. He's in Trevor's head right now. And I thought it was a good setup, Dave, for this match the following evening. What did you think of it right down there in the stands, so to speak?
It was very intense. You could feel the crowd was really into it. For as much as people were like basically shitting on the match, that, oh, you guys took out Aldis and you put this guy in. Why? Well, why not? I mean, it's not like you had a storyline going for somebody going after the TV title. Let's have a big hoss fight.
Yeah.
The only thing I was worried about was time. how are they going to stretch this out? They did a very good job of wrestling, fighting, jabber-jawing, taking it outside the ring, bringing it back in, taking it way outside the ring, and going down the entry aisle, beating the hell out of each other. Oh, let's scoop him up and slam him down. And there was nothing around the ring. It's carpet. I mean, walking, you're talking, there's carpet with maybe a 1/4 inch
Under padding.
yeah, padding underneath, and that's it. I mean, if you're wearing just regular tennis shoes, you're walking on that, you're feeling the hardness underneath that carpet. The carpet's just there to make the floor look nice.
Right.
And I'm like, both of those guys did a hell of a job with the match and not making it a short battle, but stretching it out.
Well, you know, James Bell for this just like face-to-face showdown, I think he's nailed it. This felt like a UFC or boxing championship weigh-in, you know.
Mhm.
They go up and they put the fist up, and sometimes you see Dana White like, okay, you know, everything getting in there. I thought it was like that, you know, as well. I think that's exactly it. And so is carrying the belts. Like as we say, it's a little thing. And so is, we'll find out for the main event in a moment, reading the rules. I loved it. It's so great. But Jeremy, is, you know what, I got to tell you, man, I was not sure if Tyrus was going to, you know, take this match or not. Like, wow, could Tyrus seriously be walking out of 74 tomorrow night with the 10 pounds of gold? Like, I was excited for it, but as soon as for me when Murdoch speaks, you know, and especially the black eye line, you know, about I decide if you get a black eye, you go back to Gutfeld with a black eye. I thought, oh no, he's got this well in hand. I thought he was amazing. What did you think of the nose to nose between these two guys?
I agree with James Bell. It and you guys. It definitely had a big fight feel to it. Scorekeepers and round girls, and I was expecting the works. You know, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Like you guys said, those little details, you know, but it really painted a great picture.
It's almost too bad that like they don't have rounds, you know, in wrestling. Almost, I wouldn't want it, but almost you could have a Christy James type walking around carrying the, you know, that'd be great. But it is main event night one is Taya Valkyrie taking on the Brick House, Camille, the most dominant champion in the NWA for the NWA World Women's Championship. Kyle does the intros in the ring once they're in there. Here's your challenger. Here's what she's done. You know, here's who she is. You know, and here's your champion. Blah blah blah. 400 and whatever days, and you know, he might have even said how many defenses, which I think is like 23 right now or something. But you know, and then turns it over to the ref who reads the rules. You know, we met in the back. You will follow my instructions. Again, very boxing, very UFC. Are there any questions? There's no questions. And then we're off to what was for me the match of the night. I really enjoyed this match. There's lots of good wrestling and strikes to start this off. Camille's using her power to dominate. Taya does this thing that maybe she's done it for years. I don't know her very well, where she sets it. I think it's called a snapdragon suplex, where someone's sitting in the middle rope facing out, and she slides underneath from across the ring and suplexes them backwards. I mean, it's just driving the back of the head into the mat, but it's the presentation. It looks so good. In the same way that Caprice Coleman spins around the ring post and kicks you in the face, you know, when you're outside. It just looks so interesting. Jeremy, you wanted to say something? I can tell already.
I was like, last night, I want to say it was Mecha Wolf when he did the cartwheel.
Right.
Yeah, it just that little bit of flair.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for the move, but it makes it a little bit flashier.
Right.
Anybody can kick somebody in the chest, but I can't do a cartwheel.
That's right. Me either. So there's lots of traded spots. There's lots of power moves back and forth. Camille hits a torture rack on Taya at one point. Shades of Lex Luger that she drops into sort of a sit out slam. She hits a superplex on her. Taya hits that wear lock and sort of a modified Shining Wizard running knee deal that looks pretty great. It's super back and forth for the length of this thing, and there's a million false finishes in this match. In the end, there's a referee bump towards the finish of the map where Taya very intentionally spears the referee. She even kind of like comes out from behind Camille and spears him into the mat. She grabs the title. She drills Camille with it, throws it out, slides on top. There's no ref because she knocked him out. And the referee gets pulled, get back over. She gets a 2 count. And in a near moment later, long story longer, Camille hits a spear to retain her championship. I don't know how long this one went, but it was a good match. The afterwards, Billy Corgan and the other female women's wrestlers in the NWA, they walk out to applaud Camille, and the rest of the talent is waiting on the stage, all clapping as the show ends. The 3-hour, 33-minute mark. Dave, this is the end of the show. It's the main event, the closing number. What did you think?
I thought it was a very good back and forth match. More or less, they had the crowd eating out of their hands. There were several chants of "This is wrestling," and I mean, Taya made Camille up her game.
Right.
That she was taking moves and doing moves that have never been done to her before. Granted, I know they've wrestled before, and it made both of them up their games, and it made Camille look even stronger. I realize the spear is the move that she uses for her finisher, but I wish that Camille would get another finishing move that just out of nowhere can happen.
It is, for me, the worst finisher that isn't the heart punch in pro wrestling. Everybody uses it. I've seen one person in pro wrestling do it well. That's Rhino. Not a fan of the spear. And yeah, something that you could hit out of nowhere. That you don't have to get to the corner and get into that football stance and let's shake it up. I liked the match too. Jeremy, big main event blow off. Everybody's cheering as Camille walks out. Were you cheering? Did you like the fight?
Oh yeah, yeah. Since we've actually seen Camille step into the ring for the first time and have an actual match, to now, her growth is astronomical in my opinion.
Right.
Her moveset has improved. I do agree that she definitely needs something that can be hit from anywhere. She needs another finisher. I think a submission would be good for her, that she could just lock on from someplace. The torture rack would be a great one.
There's so many ways it can be. You can reverse something into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's so many ways that you can build off of it as well. There's so many moves that she can take that she can add to that throw them in the torture rack and then torture them for 5-6 seconds or so, and then do a Death Valley driver on them or something from that. Overall though, the great match. I mean, just like I said, she keeps growing leaps and bounds, and if they keep booking her with talent like Taya and veterans that know what's going on and can help push her to that limit, she's another Jordan Clearwater type that can go anywhere.
Before we get to overall thoughts on the pay-per-view, and then we'll call it a day, just I because of how much we had to pack into tonight, I apologize for not getting as many of the chat comments up. But some of the highlights for me, Willie said, I wish that Ric Flair had been in NWA 74. He was a treat for me at that last pay-per-view when he spoke. So that would have been nice. Although this time around, I'm okay with kind of distancing from Ric Flair for a little bit. There's been a
cameo thing would have been like a little pre-taped thing, just congratulating the NWA on 74 years and 74 more. That would have been good. I think he charges $250 for a cameo.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's a really good idea. Dodie has showed up late. Dodie, so good for you to drop in. Dodie and I were arguing, and I mean that in the nicest sense, about Matt Cardona today. In the Discord, he makes some great points about his perspective. I can't get into that now because the Alliance guys are going to do night 2, and I'll have to leave power for Jay as well. And those two events solidify my opinion of why Matt Cardona is no longer in the A level tier for me in the NWA. But the biggest lie of the night, however, is this one right here. Jay, there's no way you can do cartwheels, man. There's no way you are a father of daughters.
I've seen Willie Mack do kip ups and Willie Mack is one of the most athletic people that I have ever seen in my life, and the things he can do. So if Jay Cal says he can do a cartwheel, I wouldn't be surprised.
I challenge you, Jay, to do this on TikTok. I want to see real cartwheel. Let's see it. I will. What will I do? I probably won't do anything. But there you go. What else is he right here? Give her the leg drop a la Hulk Hogan. Well.
No, God. Now you say which one was it that you didn't like, Tim? The heart punch. For me, it was the leg drop and the claw.
Yes, the claw.
The Bon Air claw just kind of. But then my grandpa did that to me once. Just kind of. Yeah, I can see where that would be effective.
Yeah, leg drop. I'll give you as well. But the heart punch is a punch. Stop it. I mean, guy could kick out of a pile driver, but you hit him in the heart and he's dead. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That is it for 74 and for our show, however. Night 2 is coming up tomorrow night. Dodie, he loves Tyrus's heart punch. Dodie and I are having a disagreement on a couple of matters. We love you, Dodie. Thank you so much for being here. But tomorrow night 2 of the NWA 74 night 2 recap. Join the Alliance guys, J-Cal, DKM, and Jaden, 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for the Alliance guys podcast. For us, you can find alliance-wrestling.com at the and everywhere else it's at the Alliance Alliance blog on Twitter. We're listed on Twitter there, but guys, tell us where they can find you.
You can find me over at Dave Scooby on Twitter and Instagram.
Jeremy?
You can find me at Twitter at HJWOTS. And I'm probably going to start putting up some videos on my YouTube channel at Wrestling with the MMA as well. So
Okay.
we'll see.
You've been dragged kicking and screaming into the world of social media, my friend. That's good to see. I am at Twitter NWA Gold _ because reasons, and at NWAGold.com, where I am trying to update regularly. We have about 75 belt biographies to go up. I think there's probably only about a dozen in there right now. Instagram, Twitter, the whole bit. Find us there. That's it. That's it for us. And until tomorrow night, from the Alliance, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.